time is now 6:30. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will you please stand and join me with the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's not on the agenda, but I will call his roll. Linda Startis. Here. Sean Peterson. Here. Gary Stalboyne. Here. Dean Gorman. Don Cabella. Here. Linda Fedor. Both Stephanie and Lisa may be aware in advance that they were not going to be able to be here tonight. But even though we're missing a regular member, we still have a quorum, so we can proceed. First order of business is to review the minutes from the April 17th meeting. If you don't have a copy, they're here. Do you need a copy? Are there any corrections or additions that need to be made?
On the first page, some minutes from April 3, he stated yada, Gary made not a connection, correction.
Could you repeat that, please?
It says here, Gary made not of a correction.
Oh, it should be note of a correction?
I'm guessing, I don't know, Gary.
Under old business, acceptance of minutes, it looks like it's basically a typo. It says Gary made not, it should say he made note of a correction.
I guess we have to ask Gary.
Yeah, well, it was just, I think it's just.
I just made a note, yeah.
Just a typo.
I move we accept the minutes as amended.
Okay. We have a motion to accept the minutes as amended with that correction. Do I have a second? Second motion made by Linda, seconded by Lynn. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Next order of business is to consider and act upon the proposed budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. So I will begin with these few opening comments. As we have our discussion, over the last couple of weeks I've asked several members of the board to do a little bit of research. As that information is pertinent to our discussion, I hope that you would be willing to share at that particular point. I've also reached out to other members of our town looking for research information, and I have some of that I will be sharing as we move along. So, with that being said, we have some decisions to make. Last night, when the citizens got up and spoke, I know that there were several people strongly in favor of certain elements of the budget. But I would note that there was a lot of people in the audience that did not speak, and a great number of those were senior citizens. I know that I wish Mr. Demain was here because he would be speaking on their behalf. And so I would like to just kind of share a piece of information that I have been able to uncover, and that is our senior population is growing. Our overall population is shrinking. We have gone from, in 2019, 15,174 to in 2023, less than 15,000. And during the same time frame, our senior citizens have grown from 23% of our population to 25%. So that is something that we need to keep in mind as we move forward. this decision that we make tonight will impact that when we consider that a lot of those folks are either in fixed or limited incomes. So with that being said, I would like to hear more comments from the board, and then we'll continue to move forward.
First of all, I think what Paul Sweet said last night was absolutely right. You guys are trying to do this budget without the audit even close to being finished.
I think the challenge there is we have to be able to operate. We have to be able to have
Yeah,
some sort of function, but you're right.
Yeah. I mean, I won't be as kind as him. I think it's purely incompetence, but that's me.
Okay. Well, we have to put some sort of budget forward because we have to be able to operate going forward. When a budget is, when what is eventually finalized, that'll give us a better picture on our overall financial picture. But we've been kind of monitoring it throughout the year to know what our fund balance is. We've been monitoring our spending with our monthly financial recaps. So I think it's just a matter of getting some clarity and finality, but hopefully we get that soon.
I agree with you, Gary. We should have some better idea than where we are now, other than just taking a best guess estimate.
Normally we would.
Yeah. But right now, we're just taking a best guess.
I think this is the latest I've ever seen it.
Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. We're stuck dealing with what we're dealing with at this point because things weren't done in a timely manner. We just have to, next year, try to do our best to make sure it's done in a timely manner. I mean, what else can be done at this point? There's nothing we can do at this point. We have to move forward with the budget.
Right.
The question is do we go forward with the budget we currently have presented, or do we make another cut?
Or what was the last sentence you
Or
said?
do we make another cut?
I'll speak.
Was that?
Is Sean done?
I'm done, yes.
I have something to say too. I apologize I wasn't here last night. I was under the weather. Actually, still under the weather, but I'm here. But I did watch half of the meeting. Obviously, I missed the best part, but I watched half the tape. And what I caught at the beginning was, I want to thank Superintendent Brett and Kevin for speaking, but I felt that actually Kevin was left-handedly speaking on behalf of the Board of Ed because you indicated how many times the town has had to bail them out. So it made me feel that maybe the town is top-heavy and the Board of Ed isn't. But last month, we discussed and agreed that .53 was going to be the increase, and it's minute to each and every taxpayer. The fact that the seniors were here last night and didn't come to the microphone, makes me think that, I mean, they weren't up here screaming, so I don't think that they have that big of an objection. But it's just my opinion, but it makes sense. I still think that there's, and maybe somebody will have to, maybe this got resolved last night and I didn't realize it, but I thought there was $160,000 in the rec department that, we don't know where it is and it's not accounted for. We talked about that last month. I don't know why that couldn't be added back into the town side of the budget.
I believe it shows up there already as $127,508 under local revenues.
The school did a feasibility study, the Board of Ed did a feasibility study this year, and I don't know, I think I was the only person there. Dean came in a little late, and when they went over that, line by line by line by school, what we should do to improve, to discontinue, to maintain. It was, and then, they came here with their budget, and it seems like they accounted for what they're asking. So, I mean, I'm a strong believer in, like, we had this conversation last month, why are we having it again? It was 0.53. So my feelings is we should just go forward as we agreed upon. I mean, if I could make that a motion, I will. I mean, I think he
Like
wants
you
to.
said, we had a lot of senior citizens here last night. You know, a lot of them may not, you know, if somebody's gonna say something, they don't have to get up and read, say,
But Dean encouraged them to do that.
right, he didn't,
Yeah, that doesn't mean
but
they
they
would.
shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't understand us speaking for somebody that doesn't speak for themselves if they're
They,
here.
they showed up.
Maybe they showed up because they wanted a budget to
How many of
increase.
them do you see here tonight?
Well, you can't assume that they showed up to lower the budget. Maybe they showed up to, support the police department, I don't know.
Yeah,
Just-
I'm not assuming anything.
That's all I got. Oh, no, I don't. We have the lowest mill rate, and we have the lowest mill rate in Connecticut by far. Any of the surrounding towns, just pick up your phone and look at it. It's,
And we should be proud of that.
yeah, and I don't, we're still gonna have the lowest if we go up 0.53. It's,
I don't think we will. I've looked at Killenly's proposed budget, and their proposed budget, their mill rate will be lower than ours.
Yes.
okay. I'll have to look. I apologize if I misspoke. But we're still one of the lowest ones in the state.
No, I agree.
Yes.
I mean, you don't want to move to Norwich, Jewett City.
Those are completely different towns than what we have here. Norwich and, what they require, what they have for businesses and stuff. I don't
A
know.
lot of factors
Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
Pretty sure the fire department's budgets are all in the town budgets in Norwich. So, right there, if you want to try to start doing apples to apples, you have to go that whole fire districts on top of it. Our number.
Well, no, that's not how I see it. I mean, the mill rate is the mill rate. The mill rate is what's coming out of my pocket, regardless of what we're supporting or not supporting.
Whatever we do, we can add 2 more mills to that number because of the fire departments.
I pay a fire tax.
Right, so you add 2 more mills, but that's not in here, that's a whole different.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So whatever we have here, you add that extra 2 mills, give or take a little bit, right? There, and so here, so.
I still think we should go forward with it as it was when we agreed last month.
Any other thoughts or comments?
I had a question, Paul. I had asked on our May 3rd meeting about graduation rates and stuff like that. You said you'd get back to me or on that. I haven't seen anything yet. Did that come out?
I can always pull that data. The reason why I didn't send anything, I always can, is I always respond to a request from the chair, and then I respond that directly to the chair in writing.
Okay.
So I can speak to graduation rates. I can also tell you that, go ahead, approach the mic. I can also tell you that when we take a look at where the kids are at the high school, we're 62% free and reduced lunch in one of our elementary schools, over 60%. The high school, we're under 50%. Big part of the reason why we're under 50% at the high school is 2 factors. One factor is those individual students who are free and reduced lunch are afraid to admit it. They don't want to come forward. They have a greater sense of what they're doing. The other honest factor is that some of those students that are free and reduced lunch don't finish out high school, and that impacts our graduation. There's a direct connection between poverty and graduation success, and the best way for me to get there is to have the best programs, the best teachers possible to make the high school a place that kids want to be, and then to have those interventions that keep the kids in the school. So that means investing in the high school, that means investing in the programs, that means trying to build up our special ed programs so that we're not paying for expensive outplacements. Over the last few years, we've done that. We have a large autism program at Shepherd Hill. We have a large intensive learning RSP program at all the schools. In the middle school, we actually run 3 different internal special ed programs to try to avoid outplacements: ISP, RSP, and SAILS. So all of those pieces are factors. But yes, I apologize if you asked for that. I didn't send it. I'll make a note. It's easy enough to find. It's also available on the Ed site, where every school's data is available. But it's easy enough for you to do. I apologize if you asked a question about graduation rates. I didn't answer it.
At this time, I would like to welcome you to the microphone to make your contribution.
Kevin Cunningham, I just wanted to follow up on something I think the Board of Finance was remiss in through the process of the budget. And that is that they are responsible for the elected officials for their pay raises. I didn't hear any discussion on that whatsoever through the entire process. Sometimes we try to work together on it. I know you have said something in the past, but this year nothing. I would be remiss in not mentioning the fact of the people that have been working very hard for the town of Plainfield, and those of the elected officials in the town. I mentioned the fact that the tax collector, we always ask the question of the tax collector all the time is, how much have you taken in, what percentages? And it usually is more than we always ask for, which is 98%. And I think she's been doing that year after year after year. So I want to make sure that that is recognized. I think the same thing can be said of our town clerk. If you note that in the budget that you passed, you have 2 people working in there instead of 3. They're very efficient. They do their job. They've also cleaned up that, I would call it a facility for storing all the records, and it is an amazing area to go into and take a look at now. And I'm not going to stand here and brag about the things that we've done at Plainfield, but we have done a lot to bring in jobs, tax revenue, things that we are looking forward to promoting for the different sections of our town and being able to do things at minimum cost to the taxpayer. So I'd ask that you would consider discussion or at least something that you would consider for those elected officials. Thank you.
The papers that I handed out to you, this is research that we did a couple of years ago, so you have that information in here.
You're missing one thing.
It's 2 years old.
You're missing one thing, it's a grand list. What's the grand list
Oh,
of
okay.
each town? That determines everything right there. And in our bylaws, Kevin, it states that by February, we're supposed to know about the pay raises from the town employees and the board's bylaws.
And when I'm doing, if you don't mind, when I'm doing negotiations, and we have 6 negotiations going on right now, how am I supposed to be able to do that?
I'm not blaming you.
Okay.
I mean, the board should have brought it up in February.
Yep.
How come that increases weren't anticipated and put in the budget, town budget?
That's part of the contingency fund.
They're all negotiating still.
They're in the process of negotiations. And the contingency fund is to help protect overspending in case of the contracts don't go exactly in our favor, so to speak. We have to plan a certain dollar amount in anticipation of what those increases must be. But since they're still in the contract negotiations, we don't know what those numbers are yet.
What percentage of raises were you figuring?
Again, we don't.
That's.
I mean,
I know what I would like to
you're
give.
negotiating, but
Yeah.
what percentage were you figuring for that $299 or whatever it is?
Oh,
3%?
well, you usually put between 60 and 80,000 normally for contingency for other issues that occur.
Right, right.
So I put the rest of it as negotiations for different contracts.
Right. That's what, 4 different unions?
4 unions and 2 individual. I've got the chief, the deputy chief, the town hall.
Roughly, what were you figuring, like 3% or?
Again, it depends on those individuals. I mean,
You can't really say at this time. I mean, he's in
I also can't
negotiations.
discuss the negotiation of a
Yeah.
contract publicly. But I will say that if you remember the last round of contract negotiations, take a good look at what the percentages were. The town did very good by doing some 0, 1s, and 2s, and a couple were like 2.5 or 3. So sooner or later, you have to be able to be fair to the employees. You want to keep them.
But you have that in your contingency.
Right.
So that's kind of a moot point, really. It's there, it's in the numbers.
And speaking in support of Kevin, he's not being evasive. The ground rules that he had to sign at the start say he can't talk about it.
Yep.
So if you looked at the numbers for our elected officials, based on a 3% increase, collectively, that's only $7,300, which is in the proposed budget. And if you look at the piece of information that I just gave you, to Gary's point, we don't know what the grand lists are for these respective towns, but if you look at our neighboring towns, these positions are underpaid.
My question is why are we all of a sudden concerned about the elected officials' raises? Nobody ever talked about cutting what they asked for, did we?
Mm-hmm. That's a proposal.
It
2
was a
years
proposal?
ago, 2 years ago, we made that part of the discussion early on, and it is my fault that did not take place again this year. But 2 years ago, when we did this report, we looked at what the competitive salaries were, and we gave what we felt were appropriate increases at that time. We should have addressed it again this year, early in this process, but that was my fault that I did not bring it up.
So are you telling me right now that they want to put forward new numbers for pay raises? Or
That
are they
would be
still
up to
going with
us.
the 3%?
That would be us to make a recommendation or suggestion, if we so decided.
Mr. Chairman, I do apologize, but I have a meeting to go to downstairs for Zoning Board of Appeals.
On the police department, we only have one vehicle in here.
That is
Pick up.
correct.
Okay. Why not two is what we were trying to do.
What's that?
We only have one vehicle for the police department. The
Right.
goal was to do two every year.
The chief pulled that out, the second vehicle out of his budget early on. I think before he even presented to us, if you take the
Okay.
form he presented to us, it actually has that vehicle crossed out.
Okay.
So he gave that vehicle up early on, before really even got to this point.
And the other thing is, I know he wants to use the money from the medical building that we sold that's been sitting there collecting interest, that the 500-something thousand. Is there limitations on the use of that?
Yeah, we have to get approved. It's going to be part of the town meeting and then referendum question. So it's going to the town.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't discuss that, because that's not part of it.
That's not part of this.
Or is it?
What's that?
Or is it?
What?
Because they zeroed that line item out for the cell tower rental. So could that be discussed now?
I don't think so. I think that's part of the town meeting, because that's a separate issue. It's not part of the operating budget.
Well, it is kind of, it intermingles now because they've taken it out of our budget and zeroed that line item from.
Yeah.
Just like he's already showing $115,000 for the electronic billboard lease, which hasn't even happened, we haven't even approved yet either for town meeting.
I'm nervous with going something that's not approved yet. We've been bitten in the past before, on stuff like that, so.
Can you explain what you mean by that, Tom? Because I don't understand what you're saying.
Some previous selectmen wanted that, put it in July Park, but everything was a done deal supposedly, and put it on the budget here, and it fell through. We had that, and make it another $300,000 or $400,000.
So it was listed as income and you never got it, is that what you're
Never
saying?
got the deal. We don't know for sure if this deal is going.
Well, we have a signed contract for this, don't we?
For the billboard? For the billboard, is
Yeah,
what you're talking
electronic
about?
billboard.
What do we have signed?
We have to still get approval for it.
Okay.
It's being, we want to do a lease with this gentleman for it.
Okay.
And that's as far as we've gotten. We can't really do anything until the town approves it.
Okay, but we have to, it has to be approved by the town.
Yeah.
But we have a signed agreement in
Yeah.
hand, but it still has to be approved by the town.
Yes, yes.
And we got that scheduled already, right?
What?
We have
Do
that
we have that
scheduled.
meeting scheduled?
June, right?
What?
That's all.
It's in June, yeah, beginning of June.
All right, do we have any other thoughts, comments?
Well, I haven't really heard any reasons. I mean, we had a nice discussion, but I don't really hear any reasons why we should cut the budget, the one that we approved last month. I mean, we've had a lot of good discussions, but I make a motion that we go forward with the mill rate .53 increase that we agreed upon.
So you're making a formal motion?
Yes.
Okay. Linda's making a formal motion that we go ahead with the proposed budget with a .53 mil increase. Do I have a second? I don't have a second, so you want to withdraw your motion?
I don't think that's how Robert's works. It just dies on the floor.
Okay.
On the floor.
Okay, so that motion is died on the floor. So the general consensus is we cannot push this budget through, proposed budget through as is, so we have to make some sort of decisions.
Definitely to get cut, just figure out what number it's going to be.
Okay.
I would say cut this in half.
Cut it.
Make it .25.
0.25, which would require us to cut 470,000, something like that?
And again, equally town and, but not, in
Proportion.
proportionately.
Okay.
But you stay forward with that, so.
She's running the math right
I'm
now.
running in my head, the number off my head, but in order to cut it in half, Kelly will give us more action. To get to .25, you said?
Yeah,
Well, half is .27.
We'll
Half
take,
isn't .25.
we'll take 2.5.
.26.
Oh, half is that.
421, 460.
We would have to cut 421.
Yep,
421, how much?
460.
And that would bring the mill rate to what?
.25.
That would be the increase, but what would the new mill rate?
Oh, 2079. Hold on. 21.04.
Then divide it proportionately with 2575.
Well, if we do that, if you look at the numbers right now, the town increase is only $114,000. So that would put the town at almost zero.
How many current people do we have working in building and grounds for the town,
3.
besides the department head?
2.
We have currently have 2?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? So we have a number on the table, 421, 460. That would, an additional reduction to bring the mill rate to 21.04. Do we have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, what numbers did you come up with?
It would be $316,095 from the Board of Ed, is that correct? And $105,365 from the town. Do those numbers match?
The first one did, so I'm assuming, yeah.
Board of Ed 316,195 from the town, 105,365.
Yep. Yes.
So do we have any other thoughts or comments to be made? Before we move on, do we want to address the situation with the elected officials? Do we want to make recommendations?
He didn't put anything in the budget for it. We're looking to make cuts. I think it's a bad time to act.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with what Sean just said.
Okay.
I'm not going to cut from one and give other employees raises. That's not. They put in what they feel that they want to put in for when they prepared the budget.
Any other thoughts? All right. We want to formulate this as a motion.
Okay. I don't know how to say it. I moved at the cut. 421, 460.
Okay.
Budget, 316,095 from the Board of Ed, and 365 from town.
Okay.
Is that number right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do that.
To bring the mill rate to 21.04.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go
so-
with 21.06.
So we have a motion on the table made by Don to reduce the budget by $421,460. 316,095 coming from the Board of Ed, 105,365 coming from the town, to bring the mill rate to 21.04, which is a what, 0.25 increase?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion made by Don and seconded by Sean. Is there any other discussion?
Do we, it goes to referendum,
It goes to referendum.
and then if they vote it down, we're back here again.
We're back here again.
Back here again.
So,
That following Monday,
following
Yes.
Monday,
Yes.
after the.
after referendum, the
Yeah.
following Monday. And then what happens is you do every Monday, but a Tuesday after Memorial Day until it passes. So you'd have a hearing, meeting, hearing, meeting, hearing, meeting.
So that would make it the 28th?
Yeah, a Tuesday.
So the referendum would be
The referendum is the third Monday in May.
That's the
May
20th.
20th,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So the motion on the floor is to set the mill rate at 21.04.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So I'll read it again. Don has made a motion to reduce the budget by $421,460. $316,095 coming from the Board of Ed, $105,365 coming from the town. That will bring the mill rate to 21.04, which is an additional reduction of 0.25. All right, motion has been made and seconded. Are there any other discussion?
I'm just curious how the question goes on the ballot. Is it just an increase in the mill rate to 21.04?
No.
No.
You get the total budget.
9,000 words, whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's still going to be three, well, maybe I'm out of lines.
Yeah,
Yes,
three
let's
questions.
just.
Three questions.
Each budget has to pass.
Yep. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. It has been seconded. Is there any other discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Four in favor, all those opposed? Two opposed, the motion carries.
Motion we adjourn? We got anything else?
No, that is it for the evening. So I will now consider a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Megan has made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Sean. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You opposed? I'm sorry, but the motion carries.